demonstrating for hustle. This is what I'm telling you. Don't come over here trying to then guess what? Go do something and come back. Go get cracking and come back. That's what I'm
big
saying.
homie.
Yes, sir.
TV superstar. Neighborhood star. Come on, man, you look good up here, man. I like the new set.
Man, Nipsey Hussle, man, that's my dear brother right there. Nipsey is he's a South Central legend. He was a businessman. He was a leader, a teacher, a father, an entrepreneur.
Since Nipsey's death, his brother Blacc Sam has gone after rappers who he believes are not loyal to Nipsey's memory. And surprisingly, Snoop Dogg appears to be on that list.
Mr. Nip Hussle, aka Go Get It, at the speed of a marathon, taking his time, going down the line to find peace of mind.
From capping on stories to rolling with Big U, the one guy accused to be behind Nipsey's death, Snoop's moves are raising eyebrows. For someone who claims it's all love with Nipsey, his words and actions say otherwise, and Blacc Sam is not down with that. Blacc Sam, born Samuel Asghedom, has always been more than Nipsey Hussle's older brother. He was the protector, the business mind, and the backbone of the Asghedom family's empire, Marathon. Long before Nipsey became a global symbol of independent hustle, Blacc Sam was already working behind the scenes to make sure the dream didn't just look good on paper, but could actually survive in the real world. Together with Nipsey, he co-founded the Marathon Clothing, which was not just a store, but a statement, a declaration that ownership mattered, that Black entrepreneurship could exist on the very blocks where struggle had defined generations. While Nipsey was the voice of the people, delivering wisdom and street knowledge through his music, Blacc Sam was the strategist. He handled the business structures, ensured deals made sense, and pushed for investments that stretched far beyond the rap game. Often known as the silent force behind the Marathon, because that's exactly what he was. He didn't care for the spotlight. He didn't crave attention. What he cared about was making sure Nipsey could dream freely without the distraction of paperwork, contracts, or deals. Nipsey himself admitted multiple times that without Sam, many of his boldest moves, like the Proud to Pay campaign or buying real estate in Crenshaw, might not have been possible. So when it comes to Nipsey's legacy, Blacc Sam's opinion carries enormous weight. He isn't just family, he's the gatekeeper of Nipsey's vision. Every move, every partnership, every relationship is filtered through him because he was the one who knew Nipsey best. He knew his ambitions, but also his boundaries. He knew who Nipsey wanted around him and who Nipsey kept at a distance. That's why whispers that Blacc Sam no longer respected Snoop Dogg hit the community hard. This wasn't just gossip. For many fans, it was confirmation that something had gone wrong. Because if Sam pulled away from someone, it was never random. It meant there was a reason, one deep enough to cross a line that could never be uncrossed. A repeat of pattern perhaps on Snoop's side. The supposed fallout wasn't sparked by petty drama. It wasn't about clout or ego. It was about loyalty, and loyalty is the most important currency in Los Angeles street culture. What triggered it was Snoop Dogg's choice to publicly align himself with a man Nipsey had carefully separated from. Now, to understand why this is such a big deal, you need to remember just how close Nipsey and Snoop once were.
And for those that knew Nipsey Hussle personally, you knew he had nothing but love for every gang member from Southern California. I don't care what neighborhood you was from.
Snoop often referred to himself as Nipsey's uncle. They shared stages, interviews, and private conversations. When Nipsey was gunned down in 2019, Snoop was one of the loudest celebrity voices mourning him. He gave a heartfelt speech at Nipsey's funeral, reminiscing about Nip's wisdom and presence, framing himself as not just a peer, but a mentor figure. For fans, that moment felt authentic. It felt like Snoop truly loved and respected Nipsey.
We ended up making music together. We ended up making a brotherhood. We ended up creating a bond. We created something that was special.
And at first, Blacc Sam seemed to acknowledge that connection. Shortly after the funeral, Sam paid Snoop a visit, personally handing him souvenirs and merchandise from the Marathon brand. It was a gesture of thanks, a way of showing that Snoop's words had not gone unnoticed. For a brief moment, it seemed like the bond between Snoop and Nipsey's family was solid. But everything shifted when Blacc Sam must have noticed Snoop began appearing alongside Big U, a man with a long and controversial history connected to Nipsey's life. Big U, real name Eugene Big U. Henley Jr. was once Nipsey's manager and a powerful figure in Los Angeles. Over time, though, their relationship deteriorated, likely over business disagreements and conflicting visions. Reports suggest that Nipsey consciously pulled away from Big U, even going as far as recording a diss track aimed at him, after a dispute involving equipment at Big U's shop led to a violent incident that required police intervention. More so, federal investigations into Big U have cast his reputation in a dark light. In early 2025, he was indicted on multiple charges under the RICO Act, including extortion, murder, and fraud. The indictment details how Henley allegedly ran what authorities likened to a mafia-like criminal enterprise, orchestrating a check-in. Big U has long carried the reputation of forcing rappers to check in when they come through Los Angeles, a system that many have called an extortion tactic. He also has a podcast titled Check In, and Snoop was a guest on this show. Nipsey, however, stood firmly against that culture. In fact, reports say he stopped paying Big U for so-called protection, a move that some people believe added more fuel to the fire and may have played into the circumstances surrounding his death. Amid this backdrop, when Snoop was seen embracing Big U smiling, taking pictures, interviews, and treating him as a partner. On top of that, Snoop has been linked to helping amplify Big U's influence in the industry. Lots of fans thought it was a slap in the face to Nipsey's memory, intentional or not, and felt like a betrayal. That sentiment, combined with the furrowing of Blacc Sam's silence, signaled that something fundamental had shifted. And for Blacc Sam, who knew exactly why Nipsey had kept that distance, it was more than just bad optics. It was betrayal.
Big U tried to take off on Nip, and Fats took off on Big U and set him on his pockets in front of everybody. A week later, Fats was out of here.
Blacc Sam's distrust of Big U wasn't just casual, it ran deep. Even when Nipsey tried to mend fences and briefly squashed the beef with Big U, Sam wasn't having it. He made it clear that no matter how the streets viewed the piece, he didn't buy into it. To Sam, Big U represented a threat, not an ally. One of the major reasons behind that was the death of their close childhood friend, Stephen Giles Fats Donaldson. Fats wasn't just a friend. He was family to Nip and Sam, part of the inner circle that had been with them since the grind started. In 2017, tragedy struck. Fats was killed in a drive-by shooting, and almost immediately, whispers began circulating around the streets of LA. Rumors tied the incident back to Big U. The story that spread was chilling. Allegedly, Fats had confronted Big U after hearing he was pressing Nipsey in one way or another. Just a week later, Fats was gone. For Blacc Sam, this wasn't coincidence. Even though nothing was ever proven, the timing and the circumstances planted a seed of suspicion that never went away. To him, Big U's presence was toxic, something that could only bring harm to Nipsey's vision and the family's legacy. Fans picked up on this tension too. Online forums, comment sections, and even neighborhood chatter often connected the dots, debating whether there was more truth to the rumors than anyone would admit publicly. To many supporters, Sam's cold stance toward Big U wasn't bitterness, it was protection, fueled by loyalty to Nipsey and the memory of Fats. Now, imagine being in Sam's shoes. You watched your brother fight tooth and nail to build independence. You watched him carefully choose who could stand beside him. And then, after his death, one of the people who called himself family suddenly cozies up to the very man your brother had separated from and allegedly has a hand in his death. It didn't matter that Snoop once gave a moving eulogy. It didn't matter that he had called Nipsey nephew or brother and himself uncle. Loyalty isn't measured by words spoken at a funeral. Loyalty is measured by actions after the fact. For Blacc Sam, Snoop's actions told him everything he needed to know. This was not just about hip-hop politics or industry alliances. This was personal. Nipsey had drawn the line in his lifetime, and Sam was determined to guard that line after his death. If Snoop chose to cross it, then Sam had no reason to keep respecting him. And that was the beginning of the silent fracture between Blacc Sam and Snoop Dogg.
And Jay-Z was like, man, this look remind me so much of you.
Yeah.
But he different. I'm like, he don't remind me of me. He different than me. I was on board. He on business.
Well, there's no denying that in the years following Nipsey Hussle's passing, Snoop frequently mentioned Nipsey during interviews, paying tribute as though the bond was unbreakable. Yet, noticeably, Blacc Sam remained largely absent from those remembrances, rarely responding or acknowledging Snoop's words in return. This disconnect didn't go unnoticed by fans. Many people believe that when someone stops acknowledging another, especially someone once so close, it signals a deeper shift. Lots of fans think that this silence wasn't random. It felt like Blacc Sam was pulling back from the relationship altogether. Now, not just that, a series of high-profile moments showed Snoop conducting interviews with him on camera, vibing to Nipsey's song. To many, these weren't casual hangouts. It was a statement. Social media lit up with reactions. Snoop seems more comfortable with Big U than with the Marathon crew. He's choosing sides. Lots of fans think this was the clearest signal yet that Snoop prioritized his relationship with Big U over honoring Nipsey's values. And if Snoop chose to stand with someone Nipsey had separated from, Sam had to question what that meant for the memory of his brother, because history has it that Sam never gave room for any disrespect to his brother's memory. How so? Now, if you know Nipsey Hussle, he was a visionary. He warned of the dangers of aligning with the wrong people, of how fame could blur true loyalty, and of why owning your work was the only way to stay free from manipulation. Nipsey distanced himself from Big U not just out of personal spite, but because he saw the long-term consequences of keeping that partnership alive. He understood that independence and self-ownership would be the foundation of his empire. Anything less meant compromising his vision. He addressed it head-on in his music too, most notably with his diss track, You Don't Got a Clue. In that record, he spits, "I built this on my own and everybody know it's true. Still dudes act like they supposed to have control of what I do." And Blacc Sam understood that conviction better than anyone, so even after Nipsey's death, at the Marathon Burger grand opening, a milestone meant to embody Nipsey Hussle's vision of community-first entrepreneurship, a moment of heat unexpectedly stole the spotlight as Blacc Sam stood against people he knew Nipsey didn't like. According to widely shared videos and accounts, Blacc Sam found himself in a heated confrontation with a man identified as Rockstar 2800, a member of the West Boulevard Crips, which spans from the Crenshaw area. The reports say he walked onto the event, and immediately Blacc Sam made it crystal clear that he wasn't welcome there. It wasn't just a verbal scuffle. Clips online caught the tension, Sam confronting Rockstar 2800 with firm, no-nonsense energy. One social media post captured the mood succinctly. "Blacc Sam really lost his brother, you think he playing with anybody? Leave that man alone and let him run his business. Continue his brother's legacy." Makes me sad that he had to deal with this on a big day. He didn't need that negative energy. Nothing but respect for standing up for his brother and continuing his legacy. On Reddit's r/CaliBanging, a user laid out the scenario plainly. Rockstar 2800, West BLVD, pressed and kicked out of the Marathon Burger grand opening by Blacc Sam and Boss Hogg, R60s. Rockstar and Nip were homies, and Rockstar has been associating with Wack 100, and we all know the rumors that he spread about Hussle. Another user added to the moment, "Every time I see Blacc Sam, he's standing on." He thought he was about to purchase some Kick It tickets. Blacc Sam said, "Pardon my back." Sam, a real one. Fans interpreted this incident as more than a simple security issue. It wasn't just about kicking someone out. It was a symbolic boundary, showing that the Marathon legacy wasn't up for negotiation or association with individuals who, within the community, were seen as extending ties to people Nipsey had intentionally separated from. Well, one could say that Blacc Sam was acting exactly like a guardian, defensive, protective, and unapologetically firm in honoring his brother's legacy. So Snoop's siding with Big U invoked an alignment with street politics and influence structures in LA. On the other hand, aligning with Blacc Sam symbolized independence, community-centered business, and legacy, which Nipsey built the marathon on. Snoop's choice appeared to many a conscious tilt toward the former, and that interpretation sparked the fire between him and Blacc Sam.
What about Snoop?
He's what? What about him? It's an open, free business. But I just know he'll have more problems without us.
Now, Snoop Dogg's legacy in hip-hop is legendary, but when it comes to the history around Tupac, Death Row, and Suge Knight, his stories have raised eyebrows for years. This fracture gains deeper gravity when you consider the long-standing controversies surrounding Snoop Dogg and Tupac Shakur. Again and again, fans have flagged a pattern. Snoop being accused of shifting loyalties or altering narratives to suit himself. Now, over the years, Snoop has been accused of rewriting history. Lots of fans think his stories about Tupac Shakur are a prime example. In one interview, he claimed he and 2PAC had reconciled before Tupac's death. But in other retellings, the story sounded different, leaving fans confused about which version to believe. Most people say the details seem to change depending on the interview, making it hard to separate fact from image control. Take Napoleon from the Outlaws, for example. He once called out Snoop for what he described as slick shade toward Tupac. Napoleon said, "They act like they praising Pac, but they're putting him down." To him, Snoop was using a subtle way of dimming Pac's light while still trying to benefit from his legacy. And then there's Suge Knight. Suge has publicly accused Snoop of being an informant and even questioned his whereabouts on the night Tupac was shot in Las Vegas. He claimed Snoop had access to information, even a play-by-play radio, but wasn't with Pac's crew when things went down. Years later, Suge doubled down, accusing Snoop of trying to help Dwayne Keefe D. Davis, the man now charged in Pac's murder, because Keefe was talking too much. Snoop, of course, denied all of it, dismissing Suge's words as bitterness, especially after Snoop took control of Death Row Records. But the inconsistencies don't stop there. Snoop has told stories about Pac that simply don't line up. One of the most famous is when he claimed Pac was the first person to ever hand him a blunt. Sounds cool on the surface, but when you think about it, the math doesn't add up. By the time Snoop met Pac, he was already 21 and deep into smoking culture. Cameron Diaz, who went to high school with Snoop, even said she used to buy weed from him as a teenager. So it's hard to believe Pac was the one who introduced Snoop to blunts. Another example was when Snoop said he personally urged Suge Knight to bail Tupac out of prison, suggesting Pac's safety was at risk behind bars. But Napoleon, who visited Pac regularly while he was locked up, says that's just not true. According to him, Pac was respected inside, making friends, taking photos, and never once mentioning feeling unsafe. Yes, Pac wanted out, like anybody would, but Napoleon insists it had nothing to do with Snoop's intervention.
That's a false narrative that I think Snoop was pushing. You know what I mean? Pac, for a fact, he wasn't really, he had a lot of, like, he used to send us pictures, and his pictures on the internet when he was taking pictures with New York dudes up in Clinton.
And then there's the MTV Video Music Awards in 1996, the infamous night when Pac crossed paths with Nas. Snoop later painted the encounter as a dangerous standoff, Nas arriving with 100 Queens shooters, Pac going off recklessly, and Nas choosing to spare them out of mercy. It makes for a dramatic story, but again, people who were actually there, like Napoleon, say that's not what happened at all. He insists Pac and Nas were respectful, talked things through, and even agreed to squash the misunderstanding. Pac told Nas he'd take his name out of upcoming diss records once he got back to LA, a promise he tragically never lived to fulfill. And to top it off, Napoleon doesn't even remember Snoop being there. Nas himself later confirmed that Snoop's version wasn't accurate. All of this paints a complicated picture. Whether it's Pac, Suge, or Death Row, fans say Snoop has a habit of reshaping the past. Sometimes it looks like embellishment, other times like damage control. And when you put that history next to his recent closeness with Big U, people can't help but see a pattern: bending loyalty, rewriting narratives, and doing whatever it takes to protect his image, even if it means shaking the foundations of trust. For Blacc Sam, this wasn't just drama. It was about preserving a legacy he helped build. Nipsey's values were never just about business. They were about loyalty, independence, and community uplift. He separated himself quietly from Big U years before his death, signaling he didn't align with that chapter. To see Snoop, who once referred to Nipsey as nephew, now publicly embrace the opposite path, felt like a fracturing of that memory. Well, Blacc Sam over the years has never been the type to jump on social media or blast people in interviews. His strength has always been in letting actions speak louder than words. That's why his silence towards Snoop Dogg carried so much weight. Blacc Sam has taken charge of everything Nipsey left behind. From expanding the Marathon clothing brand to securing real estate investments that Nipsey once dreamed about, Sam has ensured Nipsey's family and children remain financially stable. He has also invested in new community ventures, keeping Nip's mission alive on Crenshaw and beyond. What we don't see anymore is collaboration with Snoop. The bond that once looked unbreakable has now faded into distance. Instead of brotherhood, there's silence. Instead of appearances together, there are parallel paths. And while fans might have hoped to see Snoop stand beside the Asghedom family in continuing Nipsey's legacy, it's become clear that Blacc Sam prefers to walk that journey without him. For Sam, loyalty to Nipsey's vision comes before any celebrity alliance, no matter how iconic the figure might be.